Oh, what's up, everybody? We are live at night. This is stream number 3, the third time in a day. That's what kind of grind it's going to be with dual sports here, baseball, basketball on top of each other. We are wrapping up our first full NBA slate, and it was a wild, high-scoring one. Kind of expected it could get like that, especially until pricing gets where it needs to be. Let's reflect back a little bit at some of the big boys, the big scorers of the slate. James Harden led the entire slate in scoring, 85.25 DKP, 11K salary. He still finds a way to get it done. Again, that game goes to overtime. He was extremely high owned. Giannis Antetokounmpo dropped a 70 bomb. If you played Giannis at 10-5 after his game, you probably felt pretty good. Kristaps Porzingis dropped a 70 bomb. You look at his stat line. Filled up the stat sheet, 16 rebounds, almost 40 real points, 39, shot a couple threes, 5 fouls. Luka's right behind him, 64. I mean, if you found a way, and I don't think on FanDuel it was that hard to have Harden and Porzingis and Doncic all together. That was clutch. Westbrook's there too. Really hard to four-man stack that game, but man, was it a lucrative stack. De'Aaron Fox, 54 DKP. Yusef Nurkic, 5,900 on DraftKings. Almost 10 X's with 50 DKP. Just missed a double-double. That's another game that went off. You could three-man stack the Blazers, Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Yusef Nurkic, and run it back. Really more so on FanDuel. DeAndre Ayton almost dropped 50. DeMar DeRozan, without LaMarcus Aldridge, double-doubled with assist. Big game for him. Trey Burke, 47 and a quarter DKP. John Morant, almost a 50. Derek Wright, almost a 50. It was a lot of high-scoring games today, and that led to an extremely high cash line and an extremely high first-place score in both FanDuel and DraftKings. So absolutely crazy games and crazy scores, but what are you going to do? It be like that. Tomorrow, it cranks up even earlier with a 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central. Miami at Denver. Then we get Utah at OKC, New Orleans at the Clippers, and of course at, quote-unquote, Philly and Indy, and then the Lakers and Toronto. Last game tipping off at 7:30 Central, which is probably going to be more convenient for me because that might give me a window to start an earlier stream. Right now it's almost 11:30. These games will kind of coincide, especially after the Clippers game. Then Indy and Toronto just an hour and a half apart. So maybe we get an opportunity to get on the air a little bit earlier and kind of break down the following day's slate. But a couple of interesting games on the docket, and we're going to jump into it. We are streaming live on YouTube. If you guys are watching live, be sure to say what's up in the live YouTube chat. A lot of you guys may be stumbling in from after the games or not realize we were going live at nighttime. The last couple streams have been early in the daytime. Shout out to Damron. Shout out to Hader Ronzo. Says I was just looking for some quality entertainment to watch finally. What up, GP? That missed hard to free throw. Love basketball. It was some there was some drama today. I mean, basketball's back. It was nice. What up, Earth to Air? What up, Brandon? Stars and Scrubs 8 today. It went off. ACP. What up, ACP? It was it was a high scoring slate. It was really hard to I mean, I guess if you played Booker, you felt like bad, right? The Orlando game kind of got lopsided, which started killing guys like Jared Allen, Karis LeVert. Those were two guys we thought would be high usage and high ceiling guys, but the game just never ever stayed close. Anyone else down here that probably was a lineup killer? If you paid 7-4 for Hachimura on DraftKings, then that's on you, bro. Anything else down here that would have killed a lineup that was somewhat trendy? Lonnie Walker, 3,225. That glues together your Harden lineups absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was really hard to make a really bad lineup on a normal, like, results in terms of cash line. So, crazy day. Crazy day. Crazy day. Hey, yeah, Jared Allen was extremely hot start, like extremely hot start, and then he just like disappeared. And I feel like he had like 70% of his total points in the first 7 minutes, and it just fizzled out from there. But what are you gonna do? Them's the breaks. Let's jump on into tomorrow's slate. If you guys are watching either live or on playback, help me out. Hit that thumbs up. Throughout the duration of this live stream, we will be using the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet. Right now, there's extremely conservative, tentative projections and whatnot in there. As more information comes out for tomorrow's projected lineups and stuff like that, we'll have tighter projections going into lock. If you guys want access to that, access to my personal player pool, just kind of see where I'm at, you go to rundfs.com, get yourself a VIP pass, and that'll get you into the Discord and into the spreadsheets. Not only do we have spreadsheets for NBA, we have for MLB as well, and then hopefully in a month, knock on wood, we'll have some NFL. And I said it yesterday, but having access to a community of, first of all, sharp grinders that a lot of guys in there play DFS full time, and then most people in there I would consider above casual if they're not doing this for a living. It's great to have a community like that. The way NBA is set up right now, this all day stuff is going to be extremely hard for the casual player to kind of stay afloat in a week or two when we start seeing more scratches, more rests, more illnesses, stuff like that in the NBA bubble. I think the first day, couple days, the starters are going to be pretty clear for the most part, although there are some Q tags for today. But as we go forward, late swap's going to be a lucrative tool for you guys that will put you above the casual player. So I definitely believe getting into a community that's going to tag you and keep all the news in one spot like the Discord does is lucrative in and of itself. Before main slate locks, we have a 2-hour pre-lock voice chat for both NBA and baseball. We got up Rise and Shine this morning, did that, and then of course I'm back for baseball. So if you guys are looking for some minds to bounce some ideas off of and shoot the breeze as you make some lineups, that's there for you too. $300 will get you locked until January 1st, but $25 will get you trying out a week pass. So just go to rundfs.com, make yourself an account, click VIP passes, try a week pass, then click forums, and VIP threads will get you access to the 2020 onboarding thread. There you're going to find a Discord link and a couple spreadsheet links to get you started. If you have any other questions, twitter.com/GundeckerSports is how you can reach out to me. Game number 1 on this slate tomorrow. The Miami Heat facing the Denver Nuggets. We got a projected starting 5 for the Heat of Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy G, buckets, Derek Jones Jr., and Bam Adebayo up against Monte Morris, Jamal Murray, Torrey Craig, Paul Millsap, and Nikola Jokic. So Denver's been toying with a lot of different rotations in their camp session that they've been going on. We've seen one trolley starting 5 that involved Nikola Jokic starting at point guard. I don't think Mike Malone's going to be that that I guess weird is the word here. But just know that they have been experimenting with different units, and we'll kind of see how that goes. Jamal Murray's listed with left hamstring tightness. Murray set out Denver's first 2 scrimmages before playing well in the team's exhibition finale. But hamstring injuries can be a bit tricky. If he can play without any issues, Murray isn't a good option to call upon to probably pay off 6,700 should he get I got him projected 35 minutes. Another plus for him here would probably be the fact that Gary Harris is out. That represents a lot of minutes in a usual situation, 35 plus minutes in a real game. And Will Barton out. So there's a big-time wing and guard scoring options that will need to be replaced. So I do like the look at Jamal Murray, and then maybe Monte Morris picks up some minutes here. Do they run the double guard set here with Morris and Murray? Maybe. They also have a potential, Torrey Craig at the 2, Morris off the bench, and maybe they call upon a guy like Michael Porter Jr., Troy Daniels, something like that. So I don't want to get too attached to this projected lineup because Mike Malone is Mike Malone, and it can get different. But on the surface, we've got a medium to down pace matchup at a meager total 212. Denver is favored by 1. Guys that I like just looking on the surface, I think Jimmy Butler at AK 7600 compared to the rest of the slate is a guy that maybe have middling to low ownership in this matchup, and maybe he comes back strong. I'd really need a shot at 40-plus fantasy points to feel like I had a good deal there. And then Bam Adebayo, kind of the same song and dance. I got him down for a soft 34 minutes right now. Has double-double, triple-double potential. This isn't the best of matchups, but we've seen him thrive in some tougher matchups as earlier in this season. The Nuggets side, Nikola Jokic, 9K on both sites. That was one of those uncomfortable price points as the beginning of this regular season started, as it seemed like it took a while for Jokic to kind of get into game shape. I don't know if that's going to be the case here. Jokic said that, let me see, Jokic played, how many minutes did he play in his last game? He played 27 minutes in his last scrimmage, it looks like, maybe not his last, but I've seen some scrimmages with 27 minutes. So are we going to get much more than 30 minutes? Well, we probably wouldn't get that in a normal situation anyway. So 9K for 30 minutes of Jokic against Miami is a tough spot. 22 minutes against Miami earlier this season did not fruitfully net you value at just 25 DKP. If we go look at that team DVP chart in the RunDFS.com VIP spreadsheet, we'll find that Miami has been a top 6 matchup defensively at limiting opposing centers fantasy points. Jokic is a guy that can get it done, with the bare bones trip dub, 10-10-10. But 9K is kind of a hefty price to pay, all things considered, for this matchup in particular. I think this is one of those games where on the surface I find myself wanting to come back later if I don't like what I see. But knowing that this is a slate that has like the Pelicans on it, which is always a pace-up soft defense spot to attack. I think overall this slate seems like it's going to be rough defensively and pace-wise. So maybe I will have to pick here. If Jamal Murray does not play, if that hamstring flares up or something like that, I can't really see a situation where Monte Morris wouldn't be baked into 30-plus minutes, and at 3,500 on DK, 3,900 on DraftKings, I'd probably have to be an investor in that, And then, man, there might be some hype on Michael Porter Jr. if he drew a surprise start if Murray was out, or even Bol, who had a pretty spectacular scrimmage game. I hate to trust anything to do with Mike Malone. We've seen a couple situations this season where Michael Porter Jr. Has good games followed by really weird games, and it seems to be almost always associated to his minutes or lack thereof. So it's hard to trust Mike Malone there, but the price would be very affordable for him to kind of take a stab at. But these are definitely two uncomfortable, unpredictable teams that run a decent defense. Let's move on to the next game here. Thunder hosting the Jazz. This will be game 2 for the Jazz and the return to basketball. Their projected starting 5: Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, Royce O'Neal, and Rudy Gobert, taking on Chris Paul, SGA, Luguentz Dort, Danilo Gallinari, and Stone Cold Steven Adams. A 216.5 total. Thunder favored by 1.5. During the bubble preseason, we saw the return of Andre Robertson. I don't know that he jumps back into the regular season rotation. His start the other day came in the absence of Chris Paul. Even if he did play, he was never a high usage guy to begin with. He was just kind of a defender with no range. But I don't really like if he played in this lineup, it'd probably just be at the 3. I think SGA and Chris Paul for sure. You're starting 1 and 2s, and then off the bench you got Schroeder as your point guard there. So guys on the Jazz that I might like here. Jordan Clarkson continues to be way too cheap on both sites. He was my highest owned player on opening night, 4,500 on DraftKings. Certainly can get to that. 3,900 on DraftKings. I just don't see a way where I don't land on a whole lot of Jordan Clarkson. I got him at a soft 31 minutes. We'll go look at what he did against the. Pull him up. What he did against New Orleans the other night. 32 minutes there, 17 shot attempts, 37 DKP at 3,900. 25 plus, and we're talking business. I definitely think I like taking a stab at him. He took 8 3-pointers and only made one of them. So if he makes a couple more of those, I mean, this becomes a 40 bomb in the making. Not quite sure how he goes down in price. Surely the matchup is downgraded from Pelicans to the Thunder, but are we not painting a path to success here? It's a lineup that shakes up a little bit without Bojan Bogdanovic. So it creates an opportunity for Joe Ingles to start, gets Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley having to pick up some more of the slack here. And then that second unit is not real deep full of scorers. So Jordan Clarkson at 3,900 just seems a little bit disrespectful. So I'll probably be pretty heavy on that. Royce O'Neal's 4,800 on DraftKings, 4,900 on FanDuel. This is a play I don't want to get too stoked about. I think he was part of the millionaire maker winning lineups the other night. 30 DKP in that game against New Orleans. 35 minutes played in that game. I'm going to pull back expectations here. One, I think 30 DKP is probably what you need at 4-8 anyway in tournaments. But two, is that an atypical return on Royce O'Neal? I guess double-digit shot attempts in his last 2 games going back to the real regular season. But it seems like we have a much larger, more vast sample size of him not being a double-digit shot attempt guy. So I'm kind of on the fence about what to do with him, but I'm probably not going to be an over-investor if he draws higher ownership. OKC is not going to be as porous defensively as the Pelicans are, and they're not going to be as fast-paced as the Pelicans are. So I do think a more middling game stat line for Royce O'Neal is probably the most probable range of outcome for him, right? Probably 20, 25 on a good day. And I think I could stay away from that because I also feel like Royce O'Neal has a propensity to give you something like this. 15 DKP against the Pistons in 31 minutes, 12 and 29 minutes against the Knicks, right? But I guess if you're just looking for like a shot at 24-30, it seems like he's doing that more than he's not. So I'm not too stoked to play him, but I definitely wouldn't talk you off of him if you loved him. On the Thunder side, SGA probably has a lot of meat on the bone at under 7K on DraftKings. Chris Paul is one of those at 7-4. Could he double-double for you? Maybe 20-10 or 15-15, something like that. It's definitely possible. Is he as or the most fresh as he's going to be on the season today? Maybe. A little bit of history here, especially this season. He played... They played a few times, I believe. Earlier this season, 2 games, 30 minutes. He's averaging 38. So at this price point, just under 40 is not going to probably go a long way in tournaments, but it's still a range of outcome for him to get you 40 plus, 45, and I certainly think that would be a solid table setter. Steven Adams cheap on both sides, but not a matchup that I'm in love with. Gallows 56 on DraftKings. His matchup's probably a little tougher than Bogdanovic, but there is some meat on the bone for his shot attempts. He's averaging 19 points a game. So if he hit his average, 19 points, so that gets you to probably 21, 22 DKP if he shoots a couple threes in there, 5.5 rebounds. Yeah, if he has an average game, he probably gets you a shot at 5-6x value off the top. So maybe Gallo's a little too cheap on DraftKings to dismiss. And then off the bench, I kind of like the idea of Dennis Schroeder versus Jordan Clarkson. Schroeder's a lot more expensive than Clarkson, but I can see him running up and down the court with Clarkson. I got him for a soft 30 minutes, coming back just under 30 DKP. But yeah, I think so far all these games are just going to be kind of yucky in terms of warm and fuzzies, right? MLB Easy Cash. Yeah, it was a little bit of a late push for me. I hated pitching last night. I ended up with Castillo by default. And then I had basically on FanDuel 33%ed Castillo, Yu Darvish, and Mike Minor, and only Darvish did well. Last I looked, Taijuan Walker was like the highest scoring player at like 5K, and that's nuts. But good to see, right? Indy, Warren, and Turner stack. Yeah, I think the Pacers are going to offer a lot of usage replacement that we can kind of lean on, and I think we'll chop that up in just a second, right? Royce definitely benefited from playing in New Orleans. Yeah, I agree with that. Why is DK got him as out? He was out that game, the last scrimmage, and I guess DraftKings just like imports the tags from like RotoWire or RotoWorld, something like that. But he should play. Clippers hosting the Pelicans. Project starting five for the Pelicans: Lonzo Ball, Drew Holiday, JJ Redick, Zion Williamson, Derek Favors. Up against Patrick Beverly, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, and Ivica Zubac. We got 226 total, and the Clippers favored by just 5. Now, that might seem like a little bit of a soft spread, considering the Clippers are one of the top teams in the West, and the Pelicans have a porous defense. But remember, this we saw it against the Lakers. The Clippers are without Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell, and that's a big part of their that is their second unit, and that's a big part of their scoring here. So wouldn't shock me to see the Pelicans kind of stay within 15, stay within 10 for long enough. Matchup wise and price wise, I mean, Paul George is 7,700 on FanDuel, 7,900 on DraftKings. Unless they did some wonky thing where one of George or Kawhi would rest, but I don't see Doc doing that with a day of rest and no Lou and no Montrez, and wins becoming a little bit more important now. Paul George is just too cheap. 7,900. He went up $700 in salary from that Lakers game, and I'm still a buyer. Like, I think Paul George legitimately could be 9K here, 8,500 at least. I think there's plenty of meat on the bone, or even enough of a solid floor. Right? I think Paul George's profiles is probably one of my favorite plays, points per dollars, floor versus ceiling type of guys. And then Kawhi Leonard, the same thing. I think at 8,900, 9,500, I don't mind putting him and Paul George together, handcuffing them, knowing they're going to assume all the usage and likely 35, 34 minutes apiece, and there's going to be plenty of peripherals going around, and a faster pace for the Pelicans. The Pelicans can get a little sloppy, turn the ball over, and more steals for Kawhi. So love me some Paul George, Kawhi Leonard handcuffs. I'm probably not going to dumpster dive too much with their bench and their secondary players. I will say I do think, because of this matchup, if you had a couple guys that you had projected at 25-ish or more minutes, guys like Reggie Jackson could show up in a tournament lineup up top. JaMychal Green's pretty cheap, about $100 above min on FanDuel. If he played 27, I had him at a soft 27 minutes. If he played something like that in this matchup against the Pelicans, and he played 29 against the Lakers, I mean, the Pelicans are the Pelicans, right? If he got those minutes in this matchup, 25 plus is not out of the range of possibilities, and I'm probably going to guess that he's probably high up in my value chart to begin with here. So on my soft projection, sort by value, yep, JaMychal Green, top, yeah, freaking knew it. I feel like he's always up there, but matchup is the matchup. On the Pelicans side, Zion Williamson's going to continue to be on this minute restriction, and that just seems like it's going to be hard to invest into a glass ceiling. And if you watch the end of that Pelicans game, it seems like no matter what the game script is, Alvin Gentry is just going to honor the minute restriction. They had a chance. They were within a possession to close the game, and they had a dead ball stoppage, and Gentry did not opt to bring in Zion. So I guess whatever the doctor's orders are, they're taking it serious. So I can't play Zion at 75 if I'm only going to get 23 or less minutes out of him. I just feel like that's a hard ceiling, especially in this matchup, right? So what does that do? It opens up opportunities for JJ Redick at 3,500. He was a great play in that last outing. Drew Holiday, 8,200 on DraftKings, 77 on FanDuel. He's another guy that's probably going to soak a lot of minutes here, 35, 36. And then Lonzo Ball is a little bit harder of a click, but I could see a range of outcomes where he can get you 40 to 50. I think Drew Holiday is probably the guy I'm most keyed in on, and I do think the opportunity cost for JJ Redick is pretty low at 3,500 on DraftKings for him to probably take 15, 20 shot attempts in a closer game. He took 15 shot attempts against Utah, 12, 19. Yeah, you're probably gonna get double-digit shot attempts, and at 3,500, I think the opportunity cost is low enough that I would have some at that price point. And then Nicolo Melli might be somebody to consider because of the Zion minute restriction, even though he only played 14 minutes against Utah with 3 fouls. All right, let's scratch that. Did all those minutes come in the first half? Because I feel like I remember seeing his points, him on pace with a flame next to his name. Anyone else from the Pelicans that we dabble with here? Probably not on the surface, right? All right. So give me George, give me Kawhi. Give me a little bit of Drew, but Paul George and Kawhi probably my cash game handcuff. And I think the Pacers game is going to give us some other guys that we can bake into usage and probably underpriced for their situation, right? Lonzo could have a nice bounce back. He could. Lonzo's going to be a little bit mix and match, and he's going to have probably Patrick Beverley dealing with him for a little while. And we know him and Beverley have a little bit of history, right? Jackson Hayes got 20 minutes. Yeah, I mean, if they stay big, wouldn't surprise me. 3K for Hayes on DraftKings. I mean, that's one of those deep long shot stabs, but it's not out of this world for that to come through. Let's go look at that Pacers game. Pacers hosting the Philadelphia 76ers. Project starting five for the Sixers: Shake Milton, Josh Richardson, Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. Up against Malcolm Brogdon, Aaron Holiday, Victor Oladipo, TJ Warren, and Miles Turner. So Victor Oladipo is a flaky questionable. Here's a guy that a lot of people didn't think he would even play this new season. And then if you guys didn't catch it, Domantas Sabonis is out as well. And Jeremy Lamb, who I think he tore his ACL, he's out still. So this Pacers team could be limping into the new season. Victor Oladipo said he was optimistic about playing on Saturday, but he won't make an official decision until tomorrow. He was quoted as saying, "I felt good today, so we'll see what tomorrow brings." Oladipo said that after getting through another practice on Friday. "It's day by day, but I'm optimistic. We'll see how tomorrow goes." That's all he said again. Oladipo played in all of the scrimmages, but he didn't look great, so it's possible he'll skip a few of the seeding games. It does seem like he'll take the court against Philly, but he would be a risky target at best. So Depot is 6,400 on DraftKings, 5,700 on FanDuel. Probably wouldn't expect a whole lot of minutes to come his way, but that does create a lot of soak time and perhaps more minutes and more opportunities for guys like TJ Warren, guys like Miles Turner, and maybe even a little bit of Malcolm Brogdon. We saw this Pacers team be extremely underpriced a lot to start the season, but this is an NBA team with 3 guys that we can put 30 minutes on, and they're 6,200 or less on DraftKings. And I know the matchup maybe isn't super pristine against the 76ers, but man, the minutes, the opportunities, they should be there. Malcolm Brogdon at 58 is curious to me, but TJ Warren is a guy that we've known to play 35-plus minutes, and maybe his usage and whatnot wouldn't be on the same track level as a guy like Sabonis. But man, if you give me a shot at 30-plus DKP, I'm a buyer at 5'8". Range of outcomes of high floor, and then maybe throw in a ceiling there. 33 minutes per game in 3 games against the Sixers this season. 33 DKP. I'd put that in the player pool for sure. And then Miles Turner, 6,200. This is going to be probably a play that gets super hyped up today, and I'm absolutely a guy that's sitting on the fence, and I can see both yards screaming yes and no. So let's talk about the yes part. Well, with no Sabonis, Miles Turner's minutes could push 35. I got him at a soft 37. We'll see if it goes that deep. But it's absolutely reasonable to assume that without Domantas Sabonis, Miles Turner has to show up and show out. And we have seen some games prior to the quarantine where Turner was doing just that. Miles Turner DKP by game log. Let's say without Domantas Sabonis last 10 games. I don't even think we have 10 games, but last 10 games. Last 2 games, 56 and 58 DKP with a 41. All of the last 3 range of outcomes happened since March of this year. Orlando was a tougher matchup. He only played 30 minutes there, 31 minutes. And all of that's just from this season. So in all of the opportunities this season without Sabonis, all 4 of them, Turner floor was 27. Now 27 is not going to make you feel warm and fuzzy at 6,200, but if that's your floor with a chance at 40 to 50, you take it. I do worry about a guy like Turner, who's a guy that can get you a lot of blocks, and those blocks can turn into fouls against a high usage guy like Joel Embiid. I do worry about that. But for the most part, it just seems like he's going to fill the stat sheet enough. And even Chuck's 3 is a stretch 5 that I think you have to take chances at 6,200. And if Oladipo's out, even if he's in, I just don't see how this doesn't project extremely well for him. So I will be looking at Miles Turner to be 1, highly owned by the public, and 2, probably highly owned in my own personal player pool. If Depot didn't play, you'd probably see the Holiday brothers get a bump, and maybe you see an increase in minutes for a guy like TJ McConnell off the bench against his former team. On the Sixers side, Shake Milton is their new starting point guard, and they're moving Ben Simmons to the power forward spot, and that's how they've been practicing, which puts Al Horford on the bench. This is going to be hard to read, hard to project until we see some sample size on it, and I don't even know that I would run away with concrete conclusions after one game against the Pacers. But it's safe to assume that I think Milton at 44 on FanDuel and maybe 56 on DraftKings is pushing a little bit. But I probably have some shots at that if I can get that minute projection closer to 30. I still think with Alec Burks in the mix, and then likely still going to give Ben Simmons some point guard reps, and even Josh Richardson some point guard reps with Furkan Korkmaz running at the 2 a little bit. So I'd like to be a little bit more confident in Milton's minutes. But it does look like they have something up their sleeve with this rotation. Joel Embiid is 9K on FanDuel, 9,700 on DraftKings. We're looking for 50 DKP. On the season, he's averaged 61 DKP. That's just in one game. But Miles Turner defensively is definitely somebody he can get the best of. And then Ben Simmons. Do we like Ben Simmons a little bit more as a perhaps true power forward? Can get to the rack, drive to the rim quite well, going against TJ Warren. Probably wins the size advantage there. 8,600 on DraftKings, 8K on FanDuel, double-double as well within reason, and maybe he still gets a shot at a triple-double. Let me see if I can get a blurb about perhaps how he performed in the preseason scrimmages. So Philadelphia, Ben Simmons. I think I'm going to wait and see on Horford, though. 7K coming off the bench. I'm not in love with that. Ben Simmons posted a line of 14 points, 5 of 10, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal, and 5 turnovers in just 26 minutes against the Thunder. And that's a blurb from the 26. So he's still out there flirting with a triple-double, and he missed it by 1 assist in just 26 minutes against OKC. So I definitely think at 8K on FanDuel and 8,600 on DraftKings, I'm a buyer on Simmons, and it might be an easier path for his assists as him and Embiid can just double down in the paint. Alec Burks, I'm probably not going to dabble too much with this bench until I get some tighter projections. I will preface this: a lot of what I'm saying tonight could change in the morning as we get more information, more quotes from coaches, and more ideas on these rotations. Kind of going into the dark a little bit with some of these teams because of how crazy this whole situation is. But yeah, I think this game could provide some value here. So in my pool, I'm throwing Embiid, Simmons, TJ Warren, Miles Turner, and a little bit of Brogdon. A little bit. Pacers are all too cheap. Yeah, I think so. The Pacers are a team stack, right? You throw 3 guys in your lineup for under 20K. and hope they get 100 fantasy points somehow and go for it. Ben Simmons shooting threes now. Well, we've always heard he's shooting threes in preseason and training, right? I did read that he was seeing a sports psychiatrist to I guess talk out his problems with shooting three. I didn't know it was that serious, but I did see that, and hopefully he finds what he's looking for, because that's crazy. For example, if a foul doesn't result in a turnover, is it still a negative DKP? For example, a center commits a shooting foul. No, that's not a turnover, unless it's an offensive foul. Exactly. DK site says a turnover results in negative points. Yes, a turnover does, but a turnover is only a foul is only a turnover if it's an offensive foul. So if Turner commits a shooting foul on Joel, does Turner or DKP go down? No. Joel would get free throws, and Turner would just get a foul. Let's move on to the next game. Toronto Raptors hosting the Lakers. This is your final game on the docket. Project starting five for the Lakers: LeBron James, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Danny Green, Anthony Davis, and JaVale McGee taking on Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Serge Ibaka. We got a 216 total, 4-point spread in favor of the Lakers. LeBron James 10-9 on both sides. So you got to go up there and get them. I think so far I'm liking some of the mid-tier stud kind of names, the Ben Simmons, the Embiids, the obviously the Paul Georges and Kawhis. Like, I think because of that, I think the field will kind of have a same knee-jerk reaction, although people do love playing him some LeBron. And after last night, a lot of people might think you have to go up there and get him. But I could see myself being very light on LeBron, considering the alternatives here with those aforementioned guys. Anthony Davis is 10K on FanDuel, 10-4 on DraftKings. Another guy can go out there and get you 50+. Same with LeBron. LeBron flirting with a triple-double almost all the time, especially now with no Rondo. He has even truer point guard duties. He had 11 rebounds, 7 assists, 16 points. So he was 3 assists shy of a triple-double, and only got you 44 and a quarter. Went up $200 in price, and the matchup didn't necessarily get better. I think I'm gonna stick with the initial gut reaction that I probably land on very little LeBron in short entry, and then cap him at 10-15% in mass entry. We'll see. Same with AD. Rest of the Lakers are going to be extremely hard to predict from a value standpoint. The wheel of Quinn Cook, Deion Waiters, J.R. Smith, I'm good on that. I would be interested in looking at Kyle Kuzma on DraftKings, 4,300, almost 5K on FanDuel. At that price point, I'm really needing close to 30 FanDuel points, but I think he would be the only other Laker other than these two starters I would look at. Maybe an Alex Caruso, but there's no gut great feelings there. Those are all deep tournament shots. On the Raptor side, Kyle Lowry, 8K. I'm looking for 40 there. I mean, it's hard at 8K to play Lowry over Paul George, right? I think Paul George is the process play, and Lowry would just be if you're trying to get cute with ownership leverage or something like that. Siakam, tough. It's gonna be a tough matchup. This Lakers front court, amongst one of the best in terms of limiting opposing fantasy points. Second fewest fantasy points to opposing power forwards. The fewest fantasy points to opposing centers. So not a great spot for Siakam, but deep minutes, and Siakam has showed up in some tough perceived matchups already this season. And Fred VanVleet, 6,400 on FanDuel and 6,200 on DraftKings. Again, right there at that price range is a guy like Malcolm Brogdon. I would say VanVleet's not off the table for me because I do think 35-plus minutes could be in his wheelhouse. And I think the opportunity cost is fine in that situation, right? We expect somebody to score for Toronto, and he could be a catalyst or a vehicle in getting that done. If this front court struggles, it'll basically be on the backs of the guards, the Lowrys and the VanVleets, right? I think there's a lot of if this was on a main slate, like we got a lot of slow pace and defensive games on paper. It's hard to get too high up, but I do like the Pacers' price as a team. I do like Paul George, Kawhi Leonard handcuff to get me started, and I'd probably just build around that. When you wake up early in the morning, you're going to want to look for news on Jamal Murray, see if he's for sure going to play. You're going to want to look for news on the Denver Nuggets official starting five. There's a couple ways that they can go, and we've seen Mike Malone be extremely creative in the preseason. And that's it in terms of what I was looking for news-wise, I think. And Oladipo. Oladipo will be one of those afternoon things. I won't build lineups with Oladipo anyway. So if he was out, you'd just be adjusting for potential late swap opportunities, and that could create an uptick in minutes or opportunities for Justin Holiday, TJ McConnell, maybe even a Doug McDermott. Wouldn't be out of the question to see Jakar Sampson start and TJ Warren go to the 3. And I think that would size up pretty well in this Sixers matchup too. 6,600 for Tobias Harris on FanDuel at the small forward is not too bad either. You guys got any special plays, picks, anything like that, questions, anything like that, throw them at me in the live chat if you're watching on YouTube. Hopefully we can make a habit out of these nightly NBA streams. That used to be our thing, man. Me and Chronic on the night shift, and hundreds of you guys would hang out with us. So hopefully we can stir that back up and get a schedule going. It is encouraging to see that the NBA schedule is set to end early at night, right? 9:30, 10 p.m. So we don't have to wait too late, even though tonight with overtime kind of did push us back a little bit, right? What's the deal with Malcolm Brogdon's neck strain? All I can do is pull up the blurb from Roto World, but I am happy to do so. Brogdon listed with a Q tag. Cervical strain, questionable, play on Saturday against the Sixers. This is a new injury for the injury-prone Brogdon. We'll have a better idea where he's at following tomorrow's shoot-around. If he's forced to the sidelines, that would create a lot of opportunity for Aaron Holiday. Man, if Brogdon was out, if Depot was out, there would be TJ McConnell, Aaron Holiday, Justin Holiday. There'd be a lot of minutes for those guards and forwards. And I would be even more so inclined to play TJ Warren and Miles Turner, and I think they're going to be super popular anyway. You're doing MLB as well? 12 o'clock? Yeah, if I do MLB, I'll have to turn this stream off and then start a new stream and get that going. I think I will try and knock it out now. So if you guys are looking to get a preview of tomorrow's MLB slate, stick around. I'll be back in maybe 10 minutes. But otherwise, I appreciate you hanging out. Hopefully we'll get Raj to stay up past his bedtime. He seemed like he was going to be up here. But then he disappeared. He said, "My bad, long weekend began, got caught up by surprise." Okay, sure. So he disappeared. Hopefully we'll have him back, or we'll have him, or I'll have at least a co-host rotation for NBA. NBA is a little bit more of a narrative and idea bouncing situation, whereas baseball I can swing by myself because it's more math and stats, and really I'm not really giving opinions. I'm just reading stats and trying to interpret some information, right? If you guys are heading out, please hit that thumbs up for me. I will be back tomorrow night, I guess, with some more content. If you got anything else for me, twitter.com/GundeckerSports. And, of course, jump in that 24/7 VIP Discord. Go to rundfs.com. Get signed up for a week. Just try it out, man. Make some new friends in the DFS community and have some fun sweating games with a really fun group. I love each and every one of you. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Good luck. God bless.